Hello, and you're very welcome to the Townhead Podcast. It's season 2, episode 32. Well, look, I think a sending off really shattered any hopes of picking up anything in the Showgrounds today, as Sligo then slip in 2 goals and take all the points off us. To go through the game tonight is myself and Donal. Hopefully, Gally will be along shortly. Donal, just another one of those nights that we're having once too often of late.
Yeah, we're not in the greatest of runs of form. I think tonight, coupled with the other 2 results, we didn't catch a break with the Derry result or the past result. It was just a pretty poor night, and I think we probably come out of it with a few more questions and a few more decisions that need to be made, and not in great form. They're heading into an absolutely gigantic match on Friday night. So, no, not the best of nights.
You didn't have to sit through Friday night with Steph, and here we are again. I feel I'm in Groundhog Day. Well, look, you talk about a few questions and probably have been asked. First and foremost, I suppose team news came out. Boyler's in as captain. Leahy's back after, for whatever reason, that he missed the Wexford match. We kind of thought that John Martin would go back up top because we thought McMillan started. We thought clearly he's one eye on this game. So, John Martin would just go straight back in again. John Mountney, bit of a surprise. Probably he starts there. It's been a long time since we've seen John Mountney start a game for Dundalk. So it's good to see that. And then Alfie Lewis back into the middle, which probably his performances of late probably justified that decision.
Yeah. Look, and in our group chat, when the team sheet came out, I think we were looking at trying to figure out what the formation was going to be, because we saw obviously John Mountney comes in and Darley he comes in, but then we've Sam Bone on the bench and Boyler, and then 2 fullbacks. So I had Macari at centre back. I think Gally had Leahy at centre back, and then it turns out we were both right that it was the 2 of them at centre back. So we started the game with what looked like 3 at the back, and then and Joe Adams at left wing back and John Mountney at right wing back. So that took a little bit of figuring out, and we were. I think I had it written down. We were 2 minutes and 22 seconds into the game before Joseph Endo mentioned the high line for the first time. And then I think by 10 minutes in, he had broken the world record for how many times you could say it. It was, obviously the high line and everything was all the talk. You guys were talking about it Friday night, and I think everybody that has watched the last 2 games has been talking about it. And obviously Sligo had been listening and knew a couple of balls over the top, and panic stations had set in, and that's kind of how the game started. It was like settled enough until a couple of balls over the top on our left-hand side, and then Sligo were in business a couple of times. But it did take a little bit of figuring out what way we were playing. But I think the John Martin thing was like that makes sense. That was.
And look, he was unlucky in the first 10 minutes. He had a great chance, so he was really unlucky. You'd wonder if, I suppose, if he was playing more often and that chance falls to him, you might be a different outcome from it. But look, it's a good save from McNicholas, and I think there's a few times tonight that McNicholas pulled off some good saves to just keep us at bay today. He did have a good game, but look, I don't think you could really say anything. I think he justified a start there. He's put in the efforts. In particular, I'm thinking back to the Bows match. I think John Martin put in a hell of an effort that night as well. I think he's still trying to claim that goal, but I'm still not too sure who did score it. Look, we might as well get into the big decision and the big talking point of the match. It's another one where our defense is completely caught asunder, and there's, I think you were explaining to me that you had to look back on it yourself, kind of breaking it down, and if Leahy doesn't do what he does, there's 2 players ready to capitalize on the lapsed defense.
So what struck me when I saw it was like we can have say the conversation about whether it's a red card or not after.
Could be a short one.
Yeah, after going through the incident itself, because so we're trying to figure out the back three and whether it is 3 centre backs and 2 wing backs, and it looked like that's what they were doing. So we had a throw in on the right hand side, so Lewis McCarry goes to take the throw in. So that's one of the 3 centre backs is up on the right hand side. So we have the ball for a couple of seconds. I think John Martin gets dispossessed, and it falls to Bulger, who plays a ball straight into the centre forward. And at that point, Boiler seems to go forward with the Sligo striker to try and win the ball from him. And I had to go back and watch a couple of times because it looks like Dara Leahy sees this and then decides, I'm going forward with him. And it left the entire of our half completely empty. And it was one little flick on between the 2 boys. Leahy loses his footing.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was just a mess because it's like the we can talk about the high line and the system and all that kind of stuff, but mistakes, my son, someone else is here. The mistakes, the individual mistakes and individual errors like that are going to get you caught out no matter what system you're playing. Obviously, you're playing in a system where if you make a mistake like that, the stakes are incredibly high because you're leaving so much space behind you. But to look at the individual part of that, it's like he should never have gone in to try and win the ball, and it didn't look like we were set up incredibly well as a defensive unit just before it happened. And then he falls, he's losing his foot and then falls on the ball, right? So it's definitely a deliberate foul.
Yeah.
And it looked like there was 2 Sligo players that were about 40 yards away from the rest of our players. So I know it's near the halfway line, and I know he didn't intend. Oh, he probably did intend to put his hand in it, but it's a red card.
Yeah.
I don't really think there's much. I get no. If you're given a yellow card, you can say, "Oh, well, he's near the halfway line. It's not a goal scoring chance." Like I get that argument, but I mean, the rule is like if you're preventing a goal scoring opportunity, and that absolutely
definitely.
Yeah. So,
Gally, it's a goal scoring opportunity. It's a handball. It's a foul.
It's got everything, hasn't it? Apart from someone being shot, it's got everything. Yeah, when I seen it first, I kind of thought that's harsh because like Donald's after saying he's still in the centre circle, he's still in our side, but I think like I don't know what all with the ref. It seemed to take forever for the ref to actually decide it was a red card. Like they were really lining up for the free kick, but I don't know if the ref has gauged Andy Boyle's pace and said he's not going to get back for this, so there is no last man. I'm not really sure what happened. I initially thought it was harsh, but I think Alan Mattis might have put up the video of it again. And yeah, it's got everything, hasn't it? There really is no hiding spot. I mean, like you could argue it's not a massive foul, the actual contact, but when you dive to put your arm in a ball and like Donald was saying, there was nobody. Like if Leahy slips, for instance, if he slips and doesn't touch him, just slips on the ground, there's nobody touching that for the next 6 minutes. He's that far ahead of everybody else. Like he might be 45 yards from nets, but there's nobody even close to him because it's 2-on-1 almost from the start. Like even Leahy, you can see he gets caught out by him, hence why he ends up on the ground. And Leahy's quick. You know, Leahy would fancy himself pace-wise against most people in the league. And even he knows this isn't going to happen. This isn't going to work.
He's the one that you needed to be able to chase back the mistake that he just made.
Yeah, exactly. But, so you want this happening to Andy Boyle or Andy Conley Mark Conley gone by, and then Leahy picking up the pieces. But once Leahy's the one that's doing it, you're probably looking for McCarry after that. And yeah, it's just one of them that I'd say, not in fairness to him, but Leahy probably thinks I'll get away with it because he's so far from the net, from Sheps. He probably thinks he'll get away with it and get a yellow.
If he doesn't land and grab the ball, does he get away with a yellow?
No, that's it. And then he thinks, let's see how far I can push this for the crack. But it didn't look like
is that the real? It's not double jeopardy, but it's a double whammy to get out of it. Like, so if he brings down the player there, he says that he lost his balance, fell over.
Yeah.
Could he talk himself out of a red card? But the fact he lands on the ball, grabs the ball, pulls down the player, is like, I think the ref's probably going, well, I can take my pick here. Any of these you're off.
If he probably does one or the other, he gets a yellow. Maybe if there's an orange card, between a yellow and the red, he probably gets that.
Yeah, black
But
card.
the fact that he's brought this kind of Marvel Avengers coming together moment, and it's just got everything at the one time. Like it's a calamity. Like it's and look, he obviously knows what he's doing. He knows, like, I'm not going to get this ball. But I actually think if he lets the ball run, like I know he stumbles, but he probably hammers him for pace when your man gets the ball at his feet. That's the hilarious thing. But look, I think he was just caught. He's caught facing the wrong way. The two boys are on. Like, if the ball goes to the other side, and it goes to the other player. I don't know who the other player is now off the top of my head, but it was just one of them. You know, he's in the wrong place at the wrong time. The two boys are laughing all the way to the nest down to Nathan Shepard. But yeah, look, it's not what you want. Like, fair enough, it's 87 minutes and you're 1-0 up. You know, but to be a quarter, just over a quarter away into the game.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the Bows game a couple of weeks ago. It's a bit earlier, but and in fairness to Sligo, it didn't take that for them to be a little bit more of a better team, I suppose. They were honest from the start. They always seemed to get that little bit of more pressure up front. Now, Russell's got them playing really well, but you know, I'm trying not to. I still have Joey and Doe ringing in my ears from the commentary, but you know, they were, you know, even up until then, they were slightly edging the game. But look, I mean, there wasn't a lot in it. But once that happens with 3/4 of the game to go, and like you said yourself in the chat, Chris, what are we talking, 50 odd minutes? Can you hang on to this? Not a chance. I mean, it's tough. Like, it's tough with the way the dog are out the minute at the back. I don't know if you've mentioned the high line already. I'm sure you have. But it's, you know,
we were talking about it for 20 minutes and mentioned it 16,000 times. So yeah, we just
yeah. Darren says it there. It is. Look, to be honest with you, we signed McCourt. I don't want to go. I know we're talking about the game, but Robbie hasn't played a lot. He hasn't played a lot of games this season. He's been injured. But when you let Mayo go as well, Dungannon, so I know, look, he's young, but I mean, like, he looks like a player. He looks. No, I'm not saying he got to play tonight. I'm not saying he starts games or anything like that, but you're diminished at the back as it is. Look, we can talk about that all week. On the game tonight itself, yeah, look, it started before that. It started before the sending off, I think. I think Sligo were slightly edging it even up till then.
Yeah, I think we might get back to Darren's point in a second, just about the recruitment and where we have kind of landed in this at the moment. Look, we seem to be holding out. Then Donald coming up to halftime. There's a big save in there from Shep as well. But unlike, I suppose, the Bows match, you know, we did sacrifice John Martin this time and brought in Sam Bone, probably just because the pressure was telling on. You know, this defense is quite fragile as is, and I think was Skip just thinking just get another body in there, or.
Yeah, I see. Patsy has a message in there about the manager taking responsibility. I think he did take responsibility by playing essentially five at the back tonight to try and cover for the pressure that we've been under the last couple of weeks. And again, I think I praised him in the Bows match for not taking one of the attacking players off when we lost Boiler. And I get that, like, it's a hell of a long way to go to not be as compact as you possibly can. Now, in saying that, like, Sligo didn't really create that many chances. Like, they got in positions to make chances because their game plan of the balls over the two fullbacks and stuff. But I don't know. It feels like the thing that we praised them for before, they went against it tonight in an effort to try and, you know, stay solid. And I'm not sure what. Obviously, the goal changes the way the flow of the game goes. But you saw in the second half when we actually got possession, we had McMillan up front, and we were able to at least have some sort of focal point. I think O'Kane went up it looked like he went up for about 10 minutes after the substitution, but then towards the end of the half, he had reverted back into midfield with the rest of the players out then. And I think that was when the message came into the group of there's no way we're holding out for 50 minutes if this is the way the game is going.
Yeah.
And I think I had it in my head that, like, about 20 minutes to go, they'll put McMillan on. That was at 0-0, like. and try and get back into it then. But no, there was a couple of decisions that I didn't fully understand tonight, and I think that was one of them. Like I get that you want to keep compact and stuff, but you're just giving up possession of the ball by not having a way out. And then for the game to change a little bit on the goal when we had a centre forward, it just seems like maybe if we had done that from the get-go when we lost the player. But look, maybe McMillan wasn't fit enough to play a full for that length of time. Maybe we don't know what the thinking was behind it, but it just felt like the thing that we were praising them for, they did the opposite tonight. We didn't get the benefit of it tonight when we did before.
Yeah, look, I think, Frank Carlin has a post in just about, 4 red cards, 3 of them in our defence. Wants to talk about the high line again, so I think we might have to get back to some of these just once we finish wrapping up the game then, lads, if that's all right. Gally, we go in 0-0 at half-time, you're thinking, right, we just take stock on this, it's, regroup and we'll see where it go, but the manner of the goal we can see then is it's a real sucker blow, isn't it?
Yeah, and funny enough, like, we were actually playing okay. I mean, it's not like Sligo Rovers absolutely battered us against 11 against 10. We were actually playing okay. We were doing okay, but then, like, you'd have to wonder what was said at halftime when I'd be interested to know, like, with the defensive frailties that we have, and you're down to 10 men, and again, like Frank was saying, it's another defender. It's surely the simple thing. We stop simple mistakes. I know that sounds easy. I know it sounds really obvious, but we've enough talent in the middle of the box here to keep the ball as much as we can, and we didn't. And Sligo took complete advantage of it. Like, even if you look at Sligo's game, Russell will probably be disappointed. I haven't seen his post-match, but they didn't. It's not like they took advantage of the 10. Like Donald was saying, they didn't even take advantage of the fact that I don't want to say we're poor at the back, but we're probably down a little bit of quality since that fella left, and we call him that fella Donald. I don't know if we're giving him names. I don't know if we got in the Rover front. Yeah, Jude is that the one we're looking for. But yeah, look, I think the goal was coming. The goal, it's an obvious thing to say. Watch it. It just looked like it was only a matter of time. We mentioned it at half time. Or Chris, you'd said in the group. We're just blaming you for everything, Chris, at this comment.
Yeah, what's the
it's anti-Chris night. But look, it's coming, and it's you can't even point fingers. I don't know if that's just me. It's just a team that's low, and I don't want to use that word confidence, but it just seems to be they were shot. It just seems to be the lads at the back. I don't know what we said about the high line. I don't actually know if they're fit enough to play the high line. They're not pacey enough anyway. That's a say. But eventually you'll be taken advantage of, and that's exactly what Sligo done. Look, could it have been more for Sligo overall? They probably should have won the lot by then anyway. But we definitely, I don't want to say we gifted it to them. Like being 10 men, being one man down against Sligo Rovers, especially with John Russell, the way he plays, I just think, yeah, look, it was only a matter of time. Like, I'm trying not to be. I don't even know if I'm disappointed with it, because it's such a contrast. Like Donald was saying from the Bows game a couple of weeks ago, where we had a player sent off, but we didn't take the striker off. So maybe Stevie didn't fancy that, and maybe he saw this coming. But look, 10 men or 11 men, the goal's probably poor enough to give away. But I think it was only a matter of time. It was coming. I don't know what whiskey's going on tonight. He's probably on the extra strong stuff after watching that. But it's
soon as the sending off happened, it was just glug, glug, glug.
It was only a matter of time. For me, the boys were just shot. And look, we can talk about fitness and we can talk about this. I'm sure they're fit as fiddles, but surely that's mentally draining when you're down to 10 men after 20 odd minutes against a team that are physically strong. Max Mata, for me, is a quality footballer as well. He probably goes unnoticed a lot of the time. But look, it was coming. There's we don't need to get tactical. It was only a matter of time.
Donald, look, I think from my own point of view, the first goal to concede, I wouldn't want to really be too critical of Nathan Shepherd, but if he pushes that anywhere else, put it out for a corner, very hard to catch it. I wouldn't say it was possible to catch it, but if he puts that out, goes for a corner, we regroup and there's time to block. it drops very short. It was like he considered maybe trying to grab it or something at some stage, and then realized I'll just push it away a bit. But it stays in the box. We've two defenders then, though. You're thinking, right, one of these defenders got to deal with this, whether that's we knock this out and it's a corner and we go again. Instead, the two of them, neither of them really got in there for a tackle. The player managed to think it out somehow, and Boyler's thinking he's doing the right thing then by putting his foot on it, and it's just off him, and there's nothing Nathan Shepherd could do so close.
Yeah, I think on the commentary, which was phenomenal, Joseph Endo was saying that it wasn't unfortunate. I think the other commentator said it's an unfortunate own goal, and then Endo was like, it's not unfortunate. One Sligo player outfought two Dundalk players to win that ball back after Shepherd makes the save. And I think in Mountney's defence, it looked like he was trying not to foul him, because he's probably thinking any touch and he's going down. So he's trying not to foul him. Yeah, but the two of them, for the ball to squeeze between the two of them to create like that cross shot, that fair enough, like Boiler just has a swing at it, but on another night that just goes into the chip shop behind the stand or behind the goals.
Yeah, and even the space, I don't even think there was anyone coming in on top of him. I'll have to watch it again, but he seemed to be a lot of space. Now look, he doesn't know.
No, there is a player running in behind.
Is there? Yes.
Yeah.
Like Donald says, any other night it's out, out in the street. But look, maybe he's listening to our podcast. I don't know. Maybe Andy's just taking it. Maybe sick of listening to us.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Look, I know I commented in the group that we have it. That I thought
people don't want to start joining this group, lads.
Yeah, everyone's got to put a subscribe to it. We do a subscription for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Indulge, right, and Donald pointed out, to fight off two defenders. I just think that was the Dundalk. I think that's just the way it went tonight. They just seemed they seemed to second guess everything. Like Mountain probably jumps on the ball with his hands like Darragh Lee. He's probably thinking that himself maybe at that stage. But
yeah,
there's the kind of the instinct of the game almost went out of the way. I think the ball zips across the Boyle any other day. That's out in the stand. Like it's one of them things, and it's something that goes against you when you're down to 10. You're trying to fight for it. And look,
it's just disappointing that there's three opportunities for us to not concede that goal with Nathan, with the two defenders, with Mountney there, and then Boyler's one as well. If any of those three things don't happen, it's not a goal. It's just I think that's the unfortunate. And then it starts turning a bit like the Bows match. The longer it went on that they hadn't scored, the more desperate they seemed to get and more frustrated they seemed to get. And just the game can go anyway. All of a sudden, did they overcommit trying to get to us? And does the ref feel that he needs to even up the teams a little bit more, and it's a sending off, or it could be ending silly. It's hard to know, but yeah, it's just disappointed. And look, Donald, I suppose after that, you can do nothing but commend the way we approached the match. Skip went for it. He brought on McMillan. He brought on Robbie Benson and went for it. He just thought, we might as well lose 2-0 going for this than 1-0, and we've lost the game anyway.
Yeah, and they like, in fairness to them, I see a couple of people pointing at the effort and everything. Like they gave everything, like they always do, and they did wrestle and control the game back. Now, obviously, from Sligo's point of view, the game's it's a completely different game once they've gotten in front, and they can just sit back and try and hit us on the counter attack, which I guess anybody who's watched us playing for the last couple of weeks that's how you'd set up. So the goal was perfect for them to get in front. But we did, like, you wouldn't really have known we had 10 men from the first goal. It was just like we got control of it, got passing, and still, like, we're gonna. I suppose we'll get at some point. We'll be talking about the people that weren't there, but just weren't 100% sure where a goal was coming from tonight. Maybe looked a little bit blunt in attack, I guess. So for having possession and getting control of the game and fighting as hard as they can, it just didn't. I don't know if it didn't really seem. I don't know what you guys thought. It didn't really seem like a goal was coming. Like, we had a bit of pressure, but not enough. Like, it was going to take a little bit of magic. I thought to get a goal. Like, Bradley had a couple of runs across the box, and think Benson got himself in position for a shot a couple of times. We couldn't get his feet sorted out, and it just felt like that kind of thing that we didn't. I don't know if it's stats of like shots and target or stuff like that, but I didn't feel like we had too many. But I might be just misery.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was going to take something like a free kick or the Ward goal. Like even Benson's shot there was kind of timid as well. It would be unlike Robbie, but yeah, I do think it was going to take something like that. A worldly free kick from Wardy or something. But look, it was just one of them games. I don't even want to say that it's not just one of them games because it's happened before, but it just kind of fizzled out. Like after the goal went in, I mean, look, they gave it. Look, the players to play against 10 men, or play with 10 men is difficult,
especially for like an hour.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as you said in our chat, Chris. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but
no.
Yeah, no. And look, it's. Look, I don't know if you'd be less disappointed if it was 1-0 and 11 men. Like even if it was 3-0 and 11 men, it's the fact you've gone down to 10, you've shot yourself in the foot really early. But it's very difficult to come back from that. If you're 1-0 up, fair enough, and then you can send it off. You have something to hang on to. But if you're chasing a game and you can see the goal like you did, you just know it's not going to be your night.
And then it definitely wasn't our night when they seal it with the second. Donal, we're caught flat again. There's arms upraised and chasing a player. It's the one thing you never like to see because it means you're a yard or two behind. Boiler seemed to be adamant that he was off, but I did see it on the close up camera. He's right in between Boiler and Macari, and just he checks his run. As soon as the ball's played over the top, he checks it, and he must have seen that I'm actually in line here, and continues his run then because he knows he's onside. But that's just something you get caught when you're chasing a game, though, aren't you?
Yeah, like that's the risk that you run when you are chasing the game with 10 men. That you're going to get caught out like that. I had, like Jason mentioned, that a poor header from Bone starts the second goal. Like we had possession of the ball, and then the ball just bounces up the Bone. He gets no power on the header, and a Sligo player picks that up, and he switches the ball from left to right, and we get caught out, and that's the killer second goal. Like the thing with Boyle having the hand up, it's like a lot of times that's just defeat. Like, I'm not getting to this.
He wasn't going to catch him. Let's be fair.
Yeah, and it's. Sometimes you wish you had VAR, sometimes you don't want VAR, but that would you'd be like maybe his shoelaces are offside and it's not going to count. But that was just a killer one for. I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't massively confident we were going to get a goal, but you're always in it when it's only one. But then the second goal was that's just a night over, and it was depressingly familiar, just the idea of a ball across over defenders and another ball in behind it. It reminds you of Tala. It wasn't exactly the same as Tala, but I think Sligo own that stadium, don't they? So it's a little bit different from the other place. But the repetitiveness of the goal, like we conceded the same goal 3 times up there, and it looked like we conceded it again tonight. It's just from closer in than the other one. So it was just a cherry on the rubbish cake.
A cherry on the rubbish cake.
Yeah, Gally, do you care to have a slice of cake and tell us your feelings?
I don't want a slice of that cake. No, but I mean, like when you play with 10, a chance like that will always come. Like in fairness to them, though, Sligo didn't get that many runs at that. Now I think there was one. Was it Mata? Maybe it was Max Mata ran, and probably if he heads towards the goalkeeper, like Ndo was saying, he probably gets a chance or a foul. But he seems to just keep it going wider and wider for some reason out to the chip shop, as Donald was saying. But like, it's rare. In fairness to the dog, they didn't let that many chances in down the wings. But there's always going to be one. There's always going to get that, and you're always going to be outnumbered, chasing back. You can't really annoyed about it. I'd be more annoyed that they've lost the ball up the field again. That's probably more of an annoyance than the actual goal. When you're playing at the back like that, and like Donald was saying, Boyle with the hand up. Now, I don't know if there was a little nick of offside. It did look in real time that there was a chance it was offside. I haven't really seen the replay in slow motion. But like Donald was saying, that's just like, I'll put the hand up.
Yeah.
Bit of luck here. Like, he would have been better off just sliding in. And if it's an own goal, it's an own goal. You know, like, you're as well doing that. Like, I think it's just, should we put the hand up? If enough of us put the hand up, we'll get an offside here. But look, it's when you're overrun by an extra player for an hour, that's a chance like that will always present itself. And unfortunately, it's just come against us. But look, you know, I think we can go on. We mentioned a couple of weeks ago, and I know we got commented on a couple of weeks ago talking about Andy Boyle and stuff. And I think when you haven't got pacey defenders, not all of them. It's you know, I'm not saying that they're not all slow, but when you're under pressure like that against 11 men, against 11 strong, Sligo seem to be really physical. I know they're a good football team, but they seem to be really, they weren't shying out of anything.
Yeah.
And when you come up against that and you're run down by them, eventually it's going to tell. I don't know what minute the goal was in, but like, and just before that, was it just before Nathan had pulled off a cracking save, you know, point blank as well. So it's, you know, we gave them enough of the ball to be able to do that, to be able to concede a goal like that. I just think it's just. I don't know what the word to put on it. I really don't. It's apart from it was obvious it was going to happen. That's all you can really say about it. When you present the chance of that to someone, to bury it every time.
I think you know pretty much what buddies are saying. Look, it's inevitable. We're chasing the game. We're trying to do things the right way, and you're going to get caught. But look, like I'd prefer
there's always that risk
to play it how we played. And have lost 2-0, then have lost 1-0 with that sending off, and we closed up shop and we never threatened again. Like there's literally no point. So I'm not too critical of the second one, only for, like you said, Donald, just the manner of the goal is definitely something we've seen one too many times over the past few games. Look, that's probably enough to talk about because judging by everyone else's comments, there's more pressing matters to talk about here. I suppose, don't know if we were talking before this is what, one win in their, well, 2 wins, including the cup, in the last 5 matches. You know, that's been that 1-0 win at Bows, that for the majority of the game we were on the back foot. And then the Wexford match then as well, which we obviously had to take to extra time. Right, let's talk about this then. Where has this all gone wrong? I have a theory.
Okay.
And I ran this by Donald earlier, and I don't think he's 100% on board with me. Right, we did say that we will have an opportunity when teams around us are preoccupied with Europe and they're going and doing the European thing. And you know, we've seen Pats be inconsistent in some of theirs. Sligo ended up sacking their manager just before the European run and everything. Just they were so worried about having a decent European run. Derry had their blip probably before Europe. They kind of came out of it and took a while to steady their ship, and they seem to be kind of back there, judging on tonight's results too. And then Rovers were just, you know, they allowed us to get a little bit close to us with its false sense of hope, and then it just blitzed off. They just got the results that they needed and killed us off and put the big gap between us again. But we said we had an opportunity there that we were only concentrating on the league. And I think that's where we got ourselves into that position where we were in this nice little cozy spot, sitting second with mad aspirations that we could go on and maybe challenge on this. Are we seeing now that the European campaign has finished for some of these teams, that they've now concentrated back on Europe, or they're not concentrating on Europe anymore, they're concentrating back on the league again? Coincide that with really important people leaving the club, suspensions, injuries. Is it just the most perfect storm? Is that what this is?
Yeah. So I had
I'm wrong. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No. I was just going to say that I had the 2 things that say, if you bring that and what I had about the squad and how, like, at the exact wrong time, we're missing our centre forward, we lost our centre back, and injuries in midfield, particularly Benson, and as Anne's mentioned there, that Doyle's not there either.
Yeah.
I think that it was just like it was a perfect storm. It was like a culmination of a bunch of things. And I think the idea that we didn't take, I think there was a couple of games during the European run that the other teams were on that we think we took 1 point from 6 or something like that. Like, I think that might have been the opportune time to get the points and like to put more of a gap between ourselves and the teams that were in Europe.
Yeah.
But I definitely think it's just, not saying you're wrong. I'm not disagreeing with you. The idea that we're going into those games without, like, arguably the best centre forward in the league, and Judas that left, it's just, I think it's just a mix of those things. They lost. I think we talked a lot. Everybody's talked about the highlight. And just as a shout out, I have Frank Carlin's blog in front of me. It's nice to have somebody still sticking to the blog thing for Dundalk FC and hasn't just done whatever I did. But go and have a look at it, because it does actually do a pretty good explanation of everything around the highline. But a thing that we never really talk about is the pressure up the top of the pitch that Hooban would provide, and also that Dickie Kelly always provided.
Yeah.
Dickie Kelly gets lost in all of this. Now, I've been critical of him, and there's been times where he I was going to say be pulling your hair out, but we've seen him enough. But the chap works and works and works and works and works and works and puts so much pressure on players in possession in the other side, on the defensive side of the field. So, like, losing those two, coupled with not having the centre back that the team was essentially built around, like, the communication would make up for a lot of pace. I know it doesn't always get you out of it, but you look at the situation we got ourselves into tonight for the red card.
Yeah,
it's just a mess. It's just a mess, and those things have been happening since he's gone. And we talked about this before, about, like, you get away with one game if you get suspended and he's out for a game, you can survive. If Hooban's suspended or injured for a game, you can survive. But we can't survive the length of time that Hooban's been out, that Kelly's been out. Obviously, the other chap's gone. But
yeah, Paul Doyle's been a big one in the middle of the park too, though, I think. Yeah.
It's like the reason I wasn't including Doyle in it, though, is I didn't think he wasn't as permanently in the team as the other lads were. Like, he came in and out. Like, he played really well and was getting better and better and better, and the injury came at a horrible time because he was playing really well. And the type of protection that he provided, and again, it was the communication. So Connolly behind him, telling him what's happening, shouting at him, and all that stuff. And I don't know. It's been a while since they've had a game at home, so I haven't heard what's happening. You can't hear who's shouting at people on yellow white TV. So, maybe I don't know whether Gally can be like a deciding vote on what the main reason is, but there's I guess two parallel explanations maybe for what's happening.
Right, Gally. Yeah, we'll let you have a swing at this. Frank, if you're still watching in, feel free to throw in the link to the blog there, so just everyone can have a read of it as well. Gally, your thoughts on what's there and what's gone wrong?
If I was to put a word on it, it's probably foresight. So not Bruce Forsyth, foresight. Like, I honestly, I think the Connolly thing, that fella, that chap, I think it might have caught people off guard more than we think. I know there was talk of it for a long time, but we sat here, myself, Chris, and Kieran Callan sat here a couple of weeks ago, and I ran this theory up the chain that he was pulled home on loan on purpose, so we could leave, so we could sign for Derry. Now, that could be complete bull, but I think we were caught in the hop with that, and obviously, it's very difficult to go and get a Mark Connolly anywhere in the league. But when you're caught with a week's notice, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
it's very, very difficult. And that's not the look. I think probably mentally that when midfielders know, when a goalkeeper knows, Nathan Shepherd knows that there's going to be that kind of stalwart in the centre half missing. And look, we have Andy Boyle, who's one of the best readers of the game in the last 10, 15 years. And the pace might not be there, but it's still there. Like he's still a top defender. Mm-hmm. But it really proved that himself and Connolly were that link that was needed. Now it's not all the problems, but we've also let Mark Hanratty go. Now, on the flip side of that, Hanratty's hardly kicked the ball all season, but he never really got a look in because this team was so solid at the back. Mayo's the same. For me, Anamasa Hoon going, I thought that was really shocking.
Yeah,
really, I couldn't believe that they had. I just found it really surprising, considering that any kind of injuries, like we're almost down to Greg Sloggett playing at centre back.
Is there not a recall on Mayo to pull him back? I wonder.
I would say there's a minimum time you could probably recall him. Is there? Like Dungannon Swifts, when their league only kicked off when they so I'd say they probably have. I wouldn't say they've got long to recall, but for me, I would have kept him. Now look, he's mad to play football. I get it. But a bit of foresight, and look, I honestly do think they were caught very short. I think they had thought they'd Connolly sewn up, and whatever's gone on, I still think there's a touch, and I said it to Pingu. Pingu didn't like it when I said it on the group. There's a touch in Neil Fenn about it. Mm-hmm. I think he was allowed. I think he got the move to leave, to go back. There was never the dogs in the street knew he was never going to play in Scotland again at that level. Yeah. And even the fans were finding it hilarious that he was going back. I think he went back, whoever swung it for him. So then Derry would have the option on him because they weren't going to get it if he was at Oriel Park. And I think that's what happened. And I think the dog were caught a little bit short by it. And that's not this, have a go at Robbie McCourt. I think Robbie McCourt could be a very good player down the line. But, whether he'd been brought in if we had a couple of more weeks, I don't know. But I just think now, look, that's not to say the players of the club shouldn't be good enough to cover. I just think everybody's just been hit with a bit of a whirlwind there over the last couple of weeks. And there's only so long you can talk about that kind of thing. Like, there's players there that can pick up the pieces. But it seems to be a real struggle. And I like, even for myself, I didn't think it'd be that much of a struggle.
Yeah, I think that's the thing.
And I think it's just, look, the difference was you could make a mistake in midfield and Connolly would be there to absolutely nail any problems. And we just don't seem to have that. Sam Bone's a very accomplished defender. I'd like to see maybe, not that I'd like to see McCarry given the option because he is actually a centre half from younger days. He's about 12. But his youth football, he was a centre half. But we're really struggling for options. And that's the worrying thing. It's not the fact that, like, I think I've seen somewhere tonight that I think we haven't scored a goal. I think we conceded 5 in the last 2 or something like that. And I would score, somebody tweeted. That's a worrying thing. That's like, if you're not conceding, that's fine. Sorry, if you're not scoring, it's okay. You can get away with it. You can get your points. But if you're conceding at that rate, and you're getting sending off and silly little things like that, and the luck doesn't go with you. And for me, I just think a little bit more, foresight. That's what I call it. Brucey foresight. I'm going to call it on that. And look, everybody gets caught in the hop. The dog been doing it for years, signing players last minute. I know. Look, it's been said before. Kenny used to do it by the best in the league, and not the best in the league, but players that were adapted from other clubs. But I do genuinely think the Connolly thing has put a massive hole in the ground for everybody at all. And look, it's very difficult to look around the league and replace someone like that. And I know he's not doing his best, mate. I know we're only talking about him all night. I know, but for me, a little bit, I think they got very, very shortly changed on a bit of detail there. And I think it's just set this ball in motion, this rolling stone that's just caught up with us over the last couple of weeks. Oh, we commented on our own post.
I don't know what's happened here. I'm thinking.
Give someone a second to figure out what's happening
here. One too many, has he?
Look, there's a thing. I just seen the first line of that. There is, look, the boys didn't obviously want to pay. He's the wrong side of probably 28, 29 to pay big money for him. But you're paying for it now. Do you know what I mean? That's like, this is what you're talking about. If you don't get European football, if you're running short on it, this is where you're going to be shortchanged. So it's a catch-22. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Donald, look, we did have this opportunity when we knew Conley had left and we had to get somebody in. Robbie McCourt comes in. Did you feel we were kind of left a little shortchanged then at the end of the window? Is that, did we lose players at the wrong time and that left us with very little time to backfill key positions?
Yeah, well, we obviously put a huge amount of effort into trying to keep him. And picking up players halfway through the season is really, really, really difficult to do. Like even Gally mentioned the Kenny days. It was very, very, very rare that we brought a player in mid-season that made a massive impact. There's probably loads, but it feels like that was the kind of thing that that's what I've decided happened in my head, whether it's real or not. I'm going with it.
You go and you stick to that, though.
It backs up my argument. It backs up my argument. But so replacing was going to be incredibly difficult. And like we're saying, I think it was after one of the games, maybe it was the one in Tala, that like recruitment for the end of the season, number one has to be a centre back. Like keeping Bone, and we'll see what happens with contracts for everybody. That is the number one priority. And I get that they didn't have enough time because they assumed Conley was staying. And we're not being unfair on Robbie McClure. Like he hasn't really had a chance to play because he's been in and got injured and then brought in a weird game in Wexford. Yeah. And the anonymous Townend person who
I think it was Steph
comment there, the thing about injuries and sending off, like that's the game in Tala definitely, and tonight, where I'd say we had 3 or 4 different setups for a back 4 or back 5 as it was tonight. So for one reason or another, we've had absolutely no consistency since he's left. Like the Derry game in Oriel was, the beginning of this run of not winning, and like that night the two boys played great at centre back, and we looked okay. And the thing of like, you can't judge this in one game, you have to judge it over like 10 or 15 games or whatever it would be. But the worry is it's just deteriorated since then. Obviously there's been injuries, obviously there's been red cards and stuff, but the core reason for, say, the red cards at least is organisation and communication around the back 4. And like, guys, this is a different catch-22 where they can only improve the communication and organisation if they play together. Yeah. But until they have improved it, they're going to make mistakes and they're going to cause goals and someone's going to get sent off. And they desperately need to just find some sort of consistency in selection and position. And Dara Leahy's going to be suspended at some point. Oh, the next game, because it was a straight red. So he'll be suspended for
the Shells match.
For the Shells match. So you're automatically like, does that mean Macari plays left back, where he didn't play well at the start of the season and he was the left back for the second goal? You're taking your first choice right back and putting them left back. And then putting John Murphy right.
The one we always said, everything is okay as long as we don't lose Dara Leahy, because there's literally no cover for him.
Yeah, and there was definitely a case at the start of the season where we thought we needed cover, even just to push him on, for like the and this is. I remember being at the start of the season when one of the games we had a team sheet and someone handed me the sheet in the stand. They were like, "We have a left back," and it was the first day that Dara Leahy was there because we had none until then.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're sort of chasing our tail and like trying to get the organisation and trying to get communication up to speed. But Friday night again, we're going in with a different setup, and the following week we're going to be back to a different setup because Dara Leahy's going to be back in. Like it's just. It's a tough one to get right, but like, Friday night is absolutely gigantic in terms of turning that momentum we've had big games and big performances at home this season, and the 3 games against Shells have been very, very, very tight. So it was obviously going to be a tough game no matter what. But you would hope with the shed behind them and grumbling from the stand, that we'll be able to kick the. I'm in the stand, by the way. I'm one of the grumbles in the stand, so it's not. I'm not just saying that to other people, but it's a huge night to try and wrestle the momentum back for the rest of the season.
Look, we might as well turn our attention, Gally, to Friday night. Look, just a quick look through. Sorry, I haven't probably read enough of the messages just as they've been coming in. I've just popped them up on screen here. Jason McKeown coming in just saying if we had 11 players tonight, probably a different result. This side's still learning a little bit. People just talking about what the selection setup will be for Friday, because this is crucial now. So we got some suspensions in there, possible injuries we don't know. Paul Doyle was doing laps in Wexford, so could he be back in contention? We don't know. It is kind of got really, really important now, because Sean Newbury just popped in there that the 3 games are fairly winnable. Here's the next run of fixtures, lads. So we've obviously Shells this Friday, followed by the following Friday at UCD. And then we're on to the Louth Derby in Oriel, is those 3 games. The 4th game after that is in Oriel Park against Pats. Now, we've been talking to Pats have slowly but surely been closing this gap back to us again. It'd be lovely now if we got a bit of momentum going into that one. It's ideal, and that starts on Friday against Damien Duff and real Shelbourne men.
The four best midfielders in the league, apparently, according to Damien Duff. Yeah, Friday. Look, Friday. Shelbourne's always a big. It's a Damien Duff. Shelbourne's always a big game, but now it's like Donald says, it's massive. It's a big game. It's one of the biggest games we've played in the last couple of weeks. Like considering the selection process we have now, the selection issues we have, and look, I mean, everybody goes through their slumps, but because of why it's happened, because of the players that were now with Leahy out and injury worries over Doyle and stuff like that, and Kelly and Hubin, and it'd be interesting to see what way they line out on. I can't even. I was trying to think when you were talking what way did a 4 at the back would work.
Mm-hmm.
I have absolutely.
You've got a full week.
They'll be giving McMahon a shout.
But at least he's got a full week to prep for this.
Of course, yeah.
It's not thinking Friday morning, like completely the cup selection was one eye on tonight of who and what he was going to be able to play and who was going to get minutes in their legs. And you could see he clearly gave McMillan the start because he wanted to use him then as an impact then tonight, which he actually stuck to. But unfortunately, we're not having all 11 players on the pitch at that time. It kind of wasn't as effective as maybe it could have been. But I think just to get back to possibly not concede similar type of goals and to be on the front foot and actually scoring again, if we can do that on Friday, it will just give Skip and I think this whole team just a huge lift to say, right, we're back on course again. That's our blip. It's done and dusted. Push forward now for the last 8 games of the season.
Yeah, I just like on Dan Pope there and Jason's point of like, it is important to try and keep perspective on all of this.
Absolutely.
It feels like a pretty poor defeat tonight because of the circumstances and everything. And it comes off the back of a couple of, at least one performance that wasn't very good. So I think the negativity is coming from that. Obviously, in general, like I was hoping that we'd be talking about the Highline tonight, and we'd be saying about how the Highline had gotten them second and is into the next round of the cup, which it has. Now it's obviously its third now, but it was more a look at like everything was working. And the thing that we were worried about, or I think I was definitely worried about at the start of the season, the better we got week on week, was that we might have a blip like this and it might feel worse than it is because we kind of talked ourselves into some incredible title challenge and the rest of it. And
Idiots.
yeah, it was never the goal. It was never the goal this season. The goal was just to re-establish the club and to get European football, which we're still well on course to do. It's just there's a little bit of like, some of these problems aren't going away. Which is
the thing about it, all these wobbles and everything is all good. If we still manage to secure European football, we'll sit back and say, wow, do you remember that time everything was a bit dodgy? And do you remember that time we actually had a shot at Europe, where we were, way ahead of everything. It's just when you don't know how this is going to play out and you look at the last couple of results in isolation, and I think that's probably what we're coming from tonight. Yeah. And we're looking at the conundrum of just injuries, suspensions, all hitting just at the wrong time. It's probably good, lads. It's probably a grounding for us because, like I say, we lost a run of ourselves only a few weeks ago on the lead up to the match in Tala.
Good times. Do you remember June? Good times.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
What a summer we had.
Yeah, I think that's it. But look, it's probably going to give Skip a headache now all week long, trying to think who and what am I going to fit in to what positions here, because look, the left back is obviously has to be filled now. The other two are injuries. We don't know what way the comeback is on that. What pairing is he going to have on centre back? Is he going 2? Is he going 3 again? And he's, there's I wouldn't fancy beating him. Of course, the last time we played Shelbourne, there Duffer was sent to the stand and everything was great.
He was sitting beside me for the second half. On his phone the whole time, the cheeky bastard. He's supposed to be sent off when he's texting somebody in the dugout.
I'll
keep an eye on him, lads. Don't worry, I'll keep an eye on him.
At the same time, all those issues that could happen, it's a cracking game to get at the same time. It's almost like you probably don't want Rovers, but Shelbourne, look, that's the kind of game you want. Maybe Pats might be on the edge if you wanted Pats maybe as a comeback from the last series, but Shelbourne's probably the team you probably want to play because Duff is such an easy wind-up. That's the game you want. I mean, some of the crack, some of the absolute spitting he's talking on the microphone after a game. But that's really the team you want. You want a Damien Duff team at Oriel Park, at Fortress Oriel, as Dan was saying. And, maybe you don't want a Rovers just quite yet, or even Pats. Like Derry or Shelbourne will be your teams to play now to see what we're at. But look, it's a good game. You've obviously got UCD away, and then the gauntlet of Drogheda coming to Oriel Park on the 30th. It's going to be, depending on how these results go, it's going to be absolutely colossal.
Yeah. There's a couple of shouts, lads, for Garth's back in the back four. If he was anyway fit, like we've seen him on the bench, if he's anyway fit, would you be tempted? Either of you?
Provided, I mean, I'm sure he's fit. It's whether he's match fit. Like a half fit Brian Gartland, I would have no issues putting him in, but I'm going back on the years he's given us. I don't see why you would leave him on the bench if he's the option. Why not? The experience is there. He might chop someone in half in the first 2 minutes because he hasn't played in a while. That's the only thing. But it'd be interesting. I don't know if he gets a game. Can he play? He doesn't play. There's no reserve. He doesn't play he can't play with the youth. He can't get a game right. That's the only fear. He hasn't got any minutes. But I mean,
under 19, we're allowed to play 1 or 2 players, I think.
Yeah, I know that works to 23s when there is 20. But look at whether UCD would have probably been if that game was first, that probably would have been maybe the game. But look, I mean, Shelbourne would be a game to get stuck in, and no better man for it. But whether or not to do that, I wouldn't hazard a guess on it. Obviously, being a Dundalk fan, absolutely start him, get him in, centre forward, even at centre back. But look, it'd be great to see Brian Garden take the field at Oriel Park again. Unbelievable.
It's just when I see this, lads, and people start about, it's back in Oriel Park, and Jason Crowley's saying there, Jason Crowley's saying about 12th man, get it back in, get the Oriel bounce back, and Dan's team me up with all this, lads. I'm starting to feel optimistic again.
It's June again.
Yeah.
So we're still fighting for this title. We're going to go full deep on this.
Perhaps for a dose of reality, we'll have a look at the table. So we know exactly where we lie in all of this. So Shamrock Rovers still sitting pretty on the top 26 games and 56 points. Derry overtook us tonight into second position, but equal on points, just a better goal difference. We have played a game more than them. Both of us are on 49. So only 4 points behind now are Pats, and they have a game more to play than ourselves as well. That's what I'm just talking about. That momentum probably coming into that Pats match in 4 games' time is absolutely massive now. A bit of a gap back now to Sligo Rovers still, but they're just thereabouts for contention. In 5th place at the moment, 27 games on 38 points. Then Bows 33, Shells 32, Drogheda 31, and then Finn Harps and UCD make up the last 2 positions with 18 and 16 points respectively. Lads, like, that's what I'm talking about. That momentum coming into that Pats match now is absolutely huge, isn't it? Because if you can get that gap back, like if they were to win, you're back to a point to ourselves. It's dodgy-ish territory then at that stage. But if you're able to build in a couple of wins on this, I think, am I right in saying Pats are playing Finn Harps at home, I think, this weekend?
Yeah, there is UCD.
For Ollie to do us a favour there.
UCD.
Yeah. So
that doesn't make our job any easier.
No, but then we've UCD after that, and we'll be we should be getting something there.
Imagine UCD podcast. They're going to go on a rampage over the next couple of weeks and just hammer everybody.
Yeah.
Look, it's you bank on nothing in this league. You don't think. I mean, but I think Jason was saying now, back up at Oriel Friday night, a couple of weeks away.
Yeah.
Look, it's. Just and people forget it's not Friday. Today's only Monday, so you're something long to wait. So it's just get up and support the lads. I mean, that lineup at Oriel could be a different ball game altogether. In the wilderness in Sligo, look, it's a tough night for them. But you get nights like these. Stephen Kenny had them. Everybody had them.
Yeah, look, Donald, I think it's just it's completely all in our own hands here. We've plenty of fixtures left. There's plenty of points still to be battled for. Nothing's a given. All the cliches are in there. As far as I think. We just got to do it ourselves. We got to look after ourselves here and not worry about Pats, not worry about Derry. And if we can secure European football through the league, that's just a massive, massive plus for us this year.
Yeah, and to add to the cliches of like taking one game at a time, if we get a result Friday night, that's great. If we don't, we just go on to the next game and get a result there. Like they're cliches for a reason. It's the best way to approach a situation like we're in. Like, you forget about the last result, forget about performances and everything. Just focus on Friday night at home, and then that's all you can control is the game Friday night. Like you said, not to worry about anybody else's results. Like, Pats have to go to Derry as well.
Yeah,
like there's
so many twists still to come. Like, there's only 8 games left, but everybody's got 8 or 9 games left. There's plenty of twists and everything else still to come. I think that's it. And throw another one in there. You got to just look after your own house and not worry about anyone else. And I think that's the key part on all of this. Right, lads, we've rambled on for long enough, I think, tonight.
Yeah, we have butchered an hour here, and school's back tomorrow.
Gally,
anybody driving home was probably just turn them off, but on element then.
You might not be covered yet.
Get some of Bruce Forsyth's old classic hits, and he used to sing a few tunes as well.
Gally, I'll let you end the show tonight.
Oh, do I get it?
Yeah.
What can we take from tonight's match? I thought Donald was going to wrap it up because Donald had so many crackers this week.
We've thrown out so many cliches. We thought,
you thought we had material earlier in the show.
Considering the tweets that are going about tonight, we usually go for the no party, this kind of crack. We go for no high line, no high line.